It says, Sister Grace, Sister Nancy, Jumbo. Okay. I don't know at what point you joined us. We were just building each other up before we get started. But anyway, so let's continue. Let's continue with the book of Esther. Okay, now, yesterday, I believe we had just started, let me see, on the 13th day of the 12th month. Ooh, that's chapter 9 now. So we're in chapter 8. Okay, so here we go. Let's go chapter 8. That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, and Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. So you remember I said that they had kept it secret. And now, after Haman's death, they now made it public. So Esther lets the king know that Mordecai is her relative. Verse 2. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai. And Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. Esther again pleaded with the king, falling at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan of Haman the Agagite, which he had devised against the Jews. Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she rose and stood before him. If it pleases the king, she said, and if he regards me with favor and thinks it the right thing to do, and if he is pleased with me, let an order be written overruling the dispatches that Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, devised and wrote to destroy the Jews in all the king's provinces. For how can I bear to see disaster fall on my people? How can I bear to see the destruction of my family? King Xerxes replied to Queen Esther and to Mordecai the Jew, because Haman attacked the Jews, I have given his estate to Esther, and they have impaled him on the pole he set up. Now, write another decree in the king's name in behalf of the Jews as seems best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring. For no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked. I believe I made the point, I explained it, that listen, you see that signet ring? I just want to go through this again. In the olden days, they had this special wax, okay? You know, like a candle wax, okay? So it is a special wax. Now, whenever something is written, let's say a scroll, okay? So let's say they write something, they have something written on, you know, they normally used scrolls then, okay? So when something is written, an important document, they will write on that document and then it will be folded or rolled, and then the edge of that document, that wax will be put on the edge. So if you open that document, you'll have to break that wax. That wax is what is called a seal. So and what I want you to think of is like your milk. You see, when you buy milk, they tell you if the seal is broken, or when you take medicine and there's this special cover that is on top of that bottle. Okay, so when you unscrew it, there's this cover that is stuck on the opening to the bottle, apart from the cover that you unscrewed, there's this cover that is called a seal. And you'll normally see they'll put a note there. If seal is broken, do not consume. Why do they do that? Because if the seal is broken, they cannot guarantee that whatever you're about to take is pure. Some impurities might have made it into that bottle. That is why they put the seal. So they want you, the consumer, to break the seal. So if the seal was broken before you consumed it, they tell you don't take it. Because the assumption is somebody opened and put in something that could be harmful to you. You see that? So that is kind of what that wax seal, that is how it was used in the olden days. When a king writes a document, that document was sealed until the person for whom it was intended, whenever it gets to that person, the person is the one to break that seal. Okay. Now, in the kingdom of the Medes and the Persians, in which Xerxes is the king, they had a custom, they had a law. Whenever a document is written in the name of the king and it is sealed, whatever was written can never be revoked. You can't say, you know what, we said the Jews should be killed on the 12th month of the 13th day of the 12th month. You know what, now forget about it. Just don't do it anymore. You can't do that. That whatever was sealed remains as law. It still has to be done. So you see, Haman is the one who wrote the document in the name of the king and he sealed it. So the Jews are still going to be killed on the 13th day of the 12th month, exactly as Haman had written the document. But Haman is now gone. Haman is now dead. But the decree still stands. So the king tells Mordecai and Esther, listen, you people write whatever you want to counter that document that has already been sealed, because whatever was written cannot be revoked. Okay, you get the point now. Okay, so look at this. It says, for no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked. Verse 9, at once the royal secretaries were summoned on the 23rd day of the 3rd month. Because remember, Haman had written that thing on the 13th day of the 1st month. So now this is the 3rd month, he's dead. So listen, it's like he wrote that decree on the 13th of January. And then on the 23rd of March, he's already dead. He's already dead, okay? But whatever he said should happen in December the 13th still stands. So now the secretaries have been summoned because, listen, the secretaries will write down in their language. Remember, there are many languages because we said that the kingdom of Xerxes was from Africa, Middle East, Europe, and Asia. Man, that it was a big kingdom and there were different languages. So they would call the secretaries from all those different languages and tribes of people. So whenever something is being written, they write it in their language. Very serious. Okay, so it says, at once the royal secretaries were summoned on the 23rd day of the 3rd month, the month of Sivan. They wrote out all Mordecai's orders to the Jews. So you see, The one that Haman wrote was to the other tribes, and they were told to kill any Jew. So now Mordecai is writing and communicating with all the Jews. So he says, they wrote out all Mordecai's orders to the Jews and to the satraps, governors, and nobles of the 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush. And remember, we said Kush is Ethiopia. These orders were written in the script of each province and the language of each people, and also to the Jews in their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of King Xerxes, sealed the dispatches with the king's signet ring, and sent them by mounted carriers who rode fast horses, especially bred for the king. Verse 11. The king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and to protect themselves, to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality of province who might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies. The day appointed for the Jews to do this in all the provinces of King Xerxes was the 13th day of the 12th month, the month of Adar. So do you see that? So now the Jews have been told, see, when Haman wrote that decree, the Jews were not supposed to protect themselves. They were just supposed to be there and receive the wrath. Be killed, don't defend yourself. Now, the Jews have been told, defend yourself. Kill, annihilate, eliminate anyone who comes to attack you. You see that? Very powerful. Verse 13. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality, so that the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The couriers riding the royal horses went out, spurred on by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa. When Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white. Thank you. A large crown of gold and a purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor. In every province and in every city to which the edict of the king came, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating, and many people of their nationalities became Jews because fear of the Jews had seized them. So do you see that? People converted. I want to become a Jew. I am from Ethiopia, but I want to become a Jew now. I am from India, but now I want to become a Jew. I am from everyone, everywhere. People converted into Judaism. You see that? That's powerful. The fear of the Jews fell on them. Very serious. Okay. Now, let me see how long now? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do it? Because it's a long one. You know what? Let's stop here. Let's stop here. Because I want us to share a few things. I want to